Alright, so in your discriminant part of your notes, you are given 9 questions. And in this video, I'm going to be going through the first 4 of those questions. And this video is simply an additional resource if you find that you've gotten stuck on any of them. So let's begin with this question. Find the values of k if 3x squared plus kx plus 12 equals 0 has one repeated solution. So the most important part of this question is the end, when we're told we have one repeated solution. So we know that our discriminant is going to be equal to 0. So what I'm going to do next is write out my formula for the discriminant. This is b squared minus 4ac, and this is going to be equal to 0. I then am going to find my a, b, and c values. I'm actually going to make my pen a little thicker. So my a value will be 3, my b value will be k, and my c value will be 12. I then come back here and I sub these values into my discriminant. So b squared will be k squared minus 4 times a is 3 times c is 12 equals 0. I then continue. I'm going to get k squared minus 4 times 3 is 12 times 12 is 144 equals 0. I then take my 144 over to the other side by plussing each side by 144. I then square root both sides, so I'm going to get plus or minus 12. And that will be my final answer. K equals plus or minus 12. Let's now move on to the second question, which is here. And we're told for what values of k will this have no real solutions? And again, this is going to be the most important part of the question, because if it has no real solutions, we know that my discriminant is going to be less than 0. So again, I write out my formula for the discriminant. B squared minus 4ac is going to be less than 0. Then I'm going to get a equals 1, b equals negative 10, and c equals k. I then am going to sub these values into my discriminant. So my b squared is going to be negative 10 squared, which will be 100, minus 4 times 1 times k is less than 0. So it's going to be 100 minus 4k is less than 0. I'm going to plus both sides by 4k to get my 4k on the other side. I then am going to divide both sides by 4. So I'm going to get 25 is less than k. And it's fine to leave it like that, but I normally like to write it with my pronumeral on the left-hand side. Just make sure you make the correct alteration to your inequality if you decide to make that switch. So I'm going to get k is greater than 25. Let's now move on to question 3. Whoops, there we go. Find the values of m if this has real solutions. Now, they're trying to be tricky with you here. Has real solutions. What haven't they told you here? They haven't told me if I have repeated solutions, repeated. And remember, I'm going to get repeated solutions if my discriminant is equal to 0. Or this could also mean that I have two distinct solutions, in which case my discriminant would be greater than 0. And because they haven't told us which is which, what I'm going to have to do is just assume that my discriminant is greater than or equal to 0, because they simply haven't given me enough information. I then write out my formula for the discriminant. Oop, that didn't work. B squared minus 4ac is greater than or equal to 0. I write out my a, b, and c values. My a value in this case will be m minus 1. My b value will be 8, and my c value will be 4. I then sub these values in. 8 times the square of 8 is 64, minus 4 times m minus 1 times 4 is greater than or equal to 0, which is going to be 64 minus 16 m minus 1. Now, there's more than one way to skin a cat. So we could do this in many different ways you could expand these brackets out if you wanted to, but I think the best thing I could do in this case is to bring my 16m minus 1 to this side. Then I could divide both sides by 16. So in that case, I'm going to get 4 on this side is greater than or equal to m minus 1. And then my last step, which I'll do here, is plussing both sides by plus 1. So I'm going to get 5 is greater than or equal to m. And again, I just prefer to have my pronumeral on the other side. So don't forget to switch that around. This is what it's going to look like. M is less than or equal to 5. That is going to be my final answer. Okay, let's come to the last question of this video, which was question 4. So I'm told that if this has one repeated solution, find the value of k. So I have one repeated solution, so that means my discriminant is equal to 0. I then write out my formula for the discriminant for AC equals to 0. I then can go my A, B, and C value. My A value will be 4, my B value will be 12, and my C value will be k. I then put these into my formula, so b squared is 12 squared, which is 144, minus 4 times 4 times k equals 0. So I'm going to get 144 minus 16, 4 times 4 is 16k equals 0. So I'm going to get 144 equals 16k. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 16. 144 divided by 16 is 9 equals k. And again, I just prefer having my pronumeral on the left-hand side. So I'm going to say k equals to 9 is my final answer right there. Perfect. So I'm going to leave it there, and in the next video I'll go through the other questions. Hopefully this was helpful if you got stuck anywhere here. The only one that might trip you up, I think, is question 3, where you've got the greater than or equal to. But otherwise, hopefully that was helpful.